At my father's funeral, his lawyer pulled me aside and asked, "Which house do you want, the one here or the one in Miami with your half-siblings?" I stared at Mr. Caldwell, thinking I'd misheard him over the organ music. "What do you mean, half-siblings?" My voice came out as a whisper. He looked genuinely confused, glancing at his leather portfolio. "Your father's other family, in Miami. I assumed you knew, given that he split his time so equally." My legs went numb. Dad had been a regional sales manager who traveled constantly, gone 2 weeks every month for as long as I could remember. "Mr. Caldwell, I'm an only child." The lawyer's face went pale as he realized he'd just detonated a bomb. He guided me to a small office and spread out documents. Birth certificates for 3 children. Sophia Martinez, age 19, Lucas Martinez, age 16, and Isabella Martinez, age 14, all listing Robert Andrews as their father. "Your father maintained 2 complete households, the Chicago residence where you live with your mother, and a home in Miami with Maria Martinez and their 3 children. Sophia was born when I was 6. I remembered that year because Dad missed my birthday, claiming a work conference. "Does my mother know?" I demanded. Mr. Caldwell shifted uncomfortably. "Your father instructed me that the families were never to be made aware of each other." I felt sick. "Where is Maria Martinez right now?" He checked his watch. "She should be landing at O'Hare in 90 minutes with your half-siblings. They're attending the funeral." I walked back into the chapel scanning for my mother, who sat in the front row dabbing at her eyes. 38 years of marriage while he lived a double life. I pulled out my phone and Googled Robert Andrews Miami. There he was in local news articles. Photos from a youth baseball game with his arm around a teenage boy. A school fundraiser picture with Maria Martinez, described as local couple Robert and Maria Andrews. Then I saw them enter through the side door. A woman in her early 50s wearing a black dress, holding the hands of 2 teenagers, with a young woman walking ahead. Every single one of them had my father's features. The same dark eyes, the prominent nose. Maria Martinez looked directly at me. She knew who I was. The funeral became a surreal nightmare as I sat next to my oblivious mother, while my father's secret family sat 3 rows back. The priest talked about Dad's dedication to family, his faithful marriage. Every word was a lie. When my mother gave a beautiful speech about their 38 years together, describing him as her soulmate, I watched Maria Martinez crying silently, mourning the same man with equal claim to his love. That night, I sat in Dad's office going through his files with new eyes. I found a second cell phone hidden in his desk drawer, filled with text messages to Maria and the kids about homework and soccer games, photos of birthday parties I'd never been part of, a calendar tracking his rotation, 2 weeks in Chicago, 2 weeks in Miami, back and forth for 15 years, financial records showing he'd been supporting both households equally on his $280,000 salary. There were even duplicate Christmas presents bought in bulk, same toys for Isabella and me when we were younger, same video games for Lucas and me as teenagers. The next morning, I had to tell my mother everything. I showed her the birth certificates, the photos, the second phone. She stared at the evidence spread across our kitchen table with a blank expression that terrified me. "How long?" was all she asked. "At least 19 years, Mom." She stood slowly, walked to the sink, and vomited. Then she sat back down and said in a voice I'd never heard before, "I want everything." That woman knew about me and chose to be his mistress anyway. The will reading 3 days later was exactly as terrible as I'd anticipated. My mother and I sat on one side of the table. Maria and her 3 children sat on the other. Mr. Caldwell read that Dad had divided everything precisely. 1 house to each family, half the assets to each side. He'd also left a letter explaining that he'd loved both families equally and hoped we could forgive him and become one blended family. The letter ended. "I know I was a coward for not telling you the truth, but I loved all of you too much to choose." My mother laughed bitterly. "He loved us too much to choose, but not enough to be honest." She looked at Maria directly. "Did you know about me?" Maria nodded slowly. "For the last 8 years. I found out by accident and confronted him. He begged me to stay, said he couldn't leave either family." My mother's face hardened. "Then you're as much a liar as he was. You could have ended this years ago." I looked at my half-siblings. 3 people I'd never known existed until 3 days ago. Sophia spoke first. "We didn't know about you until yesterday. My whole life is a lie." Lucas looked angry. His jaw clenched exactly like Dad's. "He came to every one of my baseball games. Was he wishing he was at your stuff instead?" The pain in his voice mirrored my own. "How many of my events had Dad missed to be at theirs?" My mother interrupted. "I'm contesting the will. 38 years of legal marriage means I'm entitled to more than 50%. Maria stood up abruptly. "You can't just erase my children. They loved him too." The conference room erupted into shouting. Lawyers grabbing phones, my half-siblings crying, my mother's face twisted with rage. I walked out and didn't look back. 6 months later, the estate is still tied up in court. My mother is suing for the full Chicago house plus 60% of the assets, claiming fraud. Maria's lawyer is fighting for her children's rights. The legal bills are eating through Dad's savings faster than anyone anticipated. I've met with Sophia twice for coffee, trying to build some kind of relationship with the sister I never knew existed. She's studying architecture like I did. We share Dad's love of drawing, his terrible jokes, his inability to eat spicy food. But every conversation is haunted by the knowledge that our father chose deception over honesty for 19 years. I chose the Chicago house because it's the only home I've ever known, even if it's now tainted by lies. But some nights I wonder if the Miami house would have been better. A fresh start in a city where I don't see Dad's ghost around every corner, where I don't have to watch my mother's rage slowly consuming her as the legal battle drags on. Mr. Caldwell was wrong when he asked which house I wanted. The real question was which version of my father I wanted to remember, the devoted dad who never missed my recitals, or the liar who had 3 other children he loved just as much. Either way, the man I thought I knew died long before his actual funeral.